Hello and welcome to The Pickle, brought to you by AC4SA, academic coaching for student athletes, and co-hosted by Ethan O'Day and Jack Sundberg. Here on The Pickle, we discuss with our guests, ranging from coaches to professional athletes, the pickle of all things. Academics, sports, recruiting, high school to the pros, you name it, we talk about it. Our goal for the podcast is to give people insight into the sports world and student athletes' perspectives by sharing current and former athletes, educators, and coaches' real-life experiences. Telling story is one of the most powerful means for leaders to influence, teach, and inspire. These stories resonate in our culture, history, and lesson learned. The Pickle brings you these stories of adversity, triumph, failure, and determination to get inspired, to take them to your school, home, life, and court. Listen, learn, share, and enjoy. Today's guest is Darnell Davis. Darnell is from New Jersey and attended prep school Avon Old Farms in Connecticut. After, he attended Rutgers University, where he played football and was a starting defensive end and a team captain. He made over 100 career tackles and was awarded the Paul Robeson Award for performance, leadership, and dedication to the program. He was also All-Academic Big Ten for 3 consecutive years, while double majoring in economics and human resources. Darnell was the only football player in the program to be majoring in economics.
The Pickle Pod, we're back and we're better. Darnell Davis?
Yes, sir.
Checking in from, where are you checking in from, Darnell?
I'm checking in from New Jersey, Jersey City.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. What are you up to right now, real quick, before we get into everything?
I'm working at Merrill Lynch right now in the business continuity sector, and I started in November, and I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it, and it's something new. It's a different career path than, athletics and sports. Something new.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love to hear it, man. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We're glad to hear your, thoughts, being a collegiate student athlete at Rutgers. Obviously, we see your jersey in the background there a little bit, I think.
Word. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. No, but it'll be cool to hear your thoughts, being from Jersey, going to Rutgers, you obviously went to a prep school, hearing all your different thoughts on being a student athlete. So Ethan's going to put you through the rundown. I know you played a little bit of baseball in high school. So the rundown is
A little bit
of baseball. So it's, we like to do it on the Pickle. We do it to all our guests. He's going to ask you 5 quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
First thing that comes to mind, you spit it out.
All right, the rundown. Here we go. Question number 1, dinner with one athlete.
Manny Ramirez, and I'm a Yankee fan.
Manny. Wow, from the
Manny.
Yankee fan. Number 1 thing on the bucket list.
I think just buy like a plot of land for my family. I'm talking 100 acres that they could just live on.
That'd be
Have
sick.
everybody together, our friends,
Yes.
like a little community.
And build a house and a bunch of stuff on it. I love
Homes,
it.
Yeah.
Favorite movie of all time?
I'm gonna go Gladiator or Lion King.
I know.
Wow.
I was like, how are you not saying Lion King?
I'm gonna go Lion King for the true fans out there.
All right.
Picking Lion King.
Yes,
sir.
The original, though, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how do you start your day? What's the first thing you do?
Wake up, say a prayer, take a piss, wash my hands, meditate. Some days I work out, some days I don't, depending on my motivation, and I get right to work. Start work at 8:30 sharp, but wake up around 7 a.m., have that little hour and a half to myself, and then I get my day started.
Like that morning routine. All right, and last one. Here we go. First quote that comes to mind.
A lion is only king because of his mentality.
Oh,
He's not the biggest animal in the jungle. That could be an elephant or giraffe. He's not the fastest. We know the cheetah's nuts. And he's not the smartest. But his mentality makes him a king. So when he walks wherever he goes, people move out the way from him because his mentality. It's all about your mentality.
Wow.
Was
I
that
love
was
the
that the
quote.
whole thing was the quote or just the beginning part?
Just the beginning, but people got to get that understanding because
Oh
people
no.
are there sometimes.
Some great context there with the quote. We've never had someone explain it in depth like that.
Yes, that
We
was
really
good.
did a
It
breakdown of it.
makes sense. I mean, you had Lion King, so I mean, it
Yeah,
makes sense.
exactly.
Yeah. So, luckily our guests, we gave everybody a rundown of who you are and what you're about and your resume. But I guess we'll sort of just dive right in, and you're our first football guy to come on. We've had basketball, we've had baseball, we've had volleyball. And I know football is a little different at the college level. It's you guys are going like all year round. I feel like you guys never leave, at least at UConn. And what I've heard from you is you guys, never leave the facility. It feels like, and obviously, Rutgers is a Big Ten school, so it's, you're playing against teams like Michigan, Penn State, big dogs. Tell us a little bit about your commitment to the football program, like daily and like just throughout your career there. You put in a lot of hours and a lot of work, and how that affected, your academics and your life, like outside of, playing a sport, like just being a college athlete or just being a student on campus.
So, starting from athletics, I think it helped me grow in life and prepare for life from the things we did. Just starting off from being disciplined. Discipline was the number one thing. If you couldn't be on time, if you couldn't be at the right place at the right time, you weren't going to make it. And for me, my commitment level was 1,000% because I started off as a walk on. I didn't have a second chance or a third chance. Like everything I had to do had to be perfect or at least perfect in their eyes. And every day, I mean, when I say every day, I mean Monday through Sunday. And there's no days off. There's not one day off. And if that's your day off, you're probably in the ice bath, getting healthy, getting treatment, watching film. That's your day off. But I mean, it's a full-time job. It's people always say, hey, academics come first. And we know at the back of our head, like, yes, academics do come first. But at a Big Ten school, academics do not come first. Believe that. You're up. I'm not exaggerating, Jack. You already know. I'm up at 5:45 every morning in college. Some days 4:30, depending on the season, but 5:45 was like normal time.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't get done with my day till 1 o'clock, and that's just being lenient. That's being nice to myself. We
Yeah.
started off with a lift, 2-hour lift, from maybe like 7 to 9, and then from maybe like 9 to 9:30 you have breakfast. Then you go straight to meetings, which are an hour. Then you have practice. Now, if it's the other way around, if it's winter session, you got two of these. Instead of that practice, you have the lift in the morning and then the lift in the afternoon. After that, coming from an athlete, we're tired, we're exhausted. But now you know what we got to do next. We got to go to class.
Gotta hit the books.
You got to hit the books. And after practice, after you get your shower and after you do your ice bath, after you eat lunch, that stuff takes time. So you got to hurry up. You got to rush pretty much, at least from my perspective. And you got to make it to class.
And Rutgers is absolutely massive. So you're sprinting across campus, taking buses and trains and airplanes just to get to your econ class.
It's huge. Just to get to my econ class, I got to travel probably it feels like 2 towns over for real. And I'm rushing. And I just had this whole day. I can go home and take a nap, but people are just getting up. So I got to focus on my schoolwork. And if I don't focus on my schoolwork, you know what's going to happen. You're going to fail, and then you won't be on the team.
Right.
And I chose econ because I wanted to be a business major. I didn't know what I wanted in college. I mean, maybe finance, maybe marketing. I just chose economics because it was something general that I can study or I can pick whatever I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what, there wasn't one single football player that took econ, not one.
No, I had that written down for sort of our next question because it's like on the podcast before this, me and Ethan were talking to Aaron Hill, baseball player. He was a communications major, and he was telling when you first get in there, like the first piece of advice to academic advisors, well, not everybody, but some, they're like, hey, engineering, science, like business school, like really, like, I don't know if you want to go into that. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be time consuming. And so talk a little bit about being an econ major. You were, Big Ten all academic 3 years running. Obviously freshman year, you let us slip a little bit, but we'll let that one slide. But, talk about like how you had success with that, especially as an econ major. Like you're not just flipping through some pages and turning in some assignments, like you're working.
I guess so. Of course, I took econ. I double majored HR as well. So what I had to do was since there really weren't any football players taking my major, and most of my boys, my brothers was on the team, and I had like maybe a few friends, I had to kind of build my network. That's when I started building my network. So I was going to class, I see the cutie over there. I'm gonna ask her, hey, like, can you help me with this? I really don't understand. You know what I mean? All the smart dudes, like, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you look like.
Mm-hmm.
You can help me understand this. You could be my boy. Like, I don't care. I went to the smartest kids. I seen them answering questions in class, like kids doing well on tests. So I met a lot of people. They helped me get through it. I would go to like study hours with them. And you know me, I'm not a study hour type of guy. I already had to do 10 hours of study hall for football through the day. So I would meet people, get groups, network with individuals, people from frats, everyone, literally everyone in the school. And I would understand and learn econ. That's all I would do. And the football team provided us with tutors, which was great. And I always took tutors every single time because in econ, there's always something you're going to get stuck on. I don't care how smart you are. These tutors know the way and what you got to do to be successful. So I utilized the tutors and I utilized my network at Rutgers. And without them, I'm telling you, I probably wouldn't have got past sophomore year. But with those people helping me study, getting me through it, I was able to achieve my goal.
Yeah.
So econ was harder than football. And I swear I mean that.
Oh,
Crazy.
You look at me like I'm
without
crazy.
a doubt.
Econ is crazy.
Yeah.
No, without a doubt.
And
Without a
such
doubt.
and such a I'm happy you said this too. Such a smart thing to network with other people outside of the athletic community. Such an
Absolutely.
easy thing to do, just hang out with your teammates all the time
Mm-hmm.
or just other athletes.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to like get out of your bubble because people are looking at you as an outsider too. Being an athlete, like you really don't, it's hard to connect with regular students because you're
Yeah.
just stuck in
And
your bubble.
arts.
So it sounds like you did the right thing, like knowing, listen, there's no one else that I know taking these classes. I gotta talk to these people that know what they're doing and create these study groups and talk to people that can help me when I might not be at class and in situations like that. So I think that's great advice to anyone who's listening, going into college and athletics, trying to get to know as many people as you can outside of your bubble of athletics.
I agree. And you never know who you're gonna meet, and you never know who people are connected to, and that's key. That's key. You can't hang around people like you all day. You know what I mean? You gotta hang around
Absolutely.
people with bigger dreams sometimes, people
Mhm.
with bigger goals, or
Yeah.
people who already have those dreams that you want. They were
Or
just
honestly,
born to do it.
just different dreams than you. I mean, we're just so used to hanging around athletes. Everyone just wants to go to the show, or they want to go to the league. It's like some people want to work at Merrill Lynch and J.P. Morgan, things like that. And it was weird at the beginning. We were really talking about like your day is really stacked as a student
Yeah.
athlete, and like you're going nonstop. And like they tell you a little bit about it before, like it's like, oh, being a student athlete's tough and stuff, and you're going to be putting in a lot of hours, but you don't really get it till you get there. And then you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, I have 10 hours of study hall this week. I have practice
Ah.
6 days a week, and then I have to do all this work. I don't even know what I'm learning. So it's like, talk about like a little bit more about like people really don't get it till you get there. And it's like, some of the stuff we're doing at AC4SA is trying to prepare them for when they get there freshman year, they're not overwhelmed. So all of a sudden they can take advantage of different classes, different opportunities instead of getting there and they're just like totally overwhelmed. So talk a little bit more about just your packed days and what you can do to sort of maneuver. And you already sort of dove into it a little bit of like, utilizing your resources like tutors, stuff like that.
Well, I'm gonna say people won't understand. These high school kids won't understand anything we're saying until they experience it. I
Yeah.
mean, we could tell a high school kid, yo, like you're gonna have 10 hours of study hall this week. And they're probably like, all right, bet. Like that's easy. 2 hours a day. I'm gonna bang that out Monday through Friday. Not knowing what it's really like. Like those 2 hours are hard 2 hours to get through. You don't
Mhm.
know what you're doing through the day. It's something like as simple as going to practice. Like you might be the man in high school, but you haven't experienced the college level. You haven't experienced a hit. You haven't experienced anything. So for those kids, they gotta go and experience it. I just feel like your life plans out, it plays out by your roots. So whatever
Mhm.
people are teaching you in college, like your dad's like, yo, stay in those books, get good grades, work hard. You like, yeah, yeah, like I hear you, but you're not really doing it. And as
Mhm.
you get older, and when I say older, I mean even in college, even after college, all those little things that they were saying really does play a part in a role where you want to go and where you want to succeed. So like those packed days, it's all comes with experience. Those kids got to live it. They got to do it. And you're not gonna. I mean, unless you're smart, you're a genius, you've done it already, you're not going to do it perfectly. I don't care if you're the best, you're smartest and the best athlete in the country. You're not going to do it perfectly. You're going to fail.
Yeah.
You can't get ready for that, but you just have to know what you got to do. And the simple things that you have to do is stay disciplined and follow what you got to do. As simple as that. If you know you got to be there at 6 a.m., be there at 6 a.m. You just don't let your other, I don't want to say your other side, but your other half get the best of you. Like, nah, I'm going to skip this, or nah, I'm going to go take a nap. Because best believe I did that. And as I got older, I'm like, yo, this ain't right for me. It's like, I'm trying to give an example. You ever like go on break in college, like during college, maybe went on like maybe a spring break or somewhere, I don't know, maybe they gave you 2 weeks. And after those 2 weeks, you're doing nothing. I don't know. You got we had like 2 weeks in summertime. But those 2 weeks you're doing nothing, and it's the best time. But like after so much time of doing nothing, you get sick of that. You're like, damn, like I kind of wish I was playing again. But those 2 weeks are the best time of your life, but you don't want that to last forever. You're like, you know what? I'd rather go back to school. Like I'm sick of doing nothing. Even though I want to do nothing, I'm sick of doing nothing. That's how it's going to be when you're going to school. You're going to be sick of it. But if you do nothing, you're not going to get to where you want to get to, even though you want to do nothing, if you feel what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. I get it for the most part.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, because like you're saying, that other side, like it's so easy to slip up and be like, oh, I just want to take a little like a break. I can skip this class. I can just sleep in and take this one break, but you can't. And we were talking about this in the other episode, like off days, you really want to do nothing. Yeah. And I'm going to reiterate this again. You have to like get on top of those are the days you got to work the hardest on school, and like taking care of yourself on rest days too, like whatever you got to do, treatment and schoolwork and whatever extra work you want to do. Like that's the type of stuff that you need to be doing if you want to put yourself, get ahead as far as, and not fall behind. Yeah. But it's easier said than done.
But we've heard that, and I agree with you, but we've heard that in high school, right? And we still kind of, or at least I did. I can't speak for anybody else, but I did it a little bit, maybe freshman, sophomore year. And as you grow, you really don't do it. But I don't know how to reiterate it to the kids unless they really experience it. But as long as they know and they hear you, they'll always understand.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You were talking about, you just like having conversations with your dad or having conversations with, people who are around you. And I think, when you're in high school, it's like sometimes you don't really do it enough, but you were just talking about just start thinking about like what you want to do, like what's important to you. And just having those conversations with yourself, you really start to figure out like, well, maybe I do want to do econ, or maybe that's not right for me. And, when you start having those conversations with yourself or family or, your teammates or whoever, sometimes when you're a junior in college, not that it's too late, but, you could have had this conversation senior year of high school, and then all of a sudden you come into college and you're more prepared. So I think, like you were saying, just having those conversations with yourself, with family, whoever it is, your dad, all of a sudden it really starts to make you think. And it's like, okay, like maybe I do got to step it up a little. Maybe I got to work a little bit harder in the classroom. Maybe I want to be an engineer. I don't know what it is, but, when you start having those conversations with people who you're close to, I think it goes a long way, because then all of a sudden, similar to what you're talking to, you're not like a senior in college and you're like, oh my God, I really don't know what I'm doing or what I'm gonna do. And you're like, I just took 4 years of classes that mean absolutely nothing to me. And like, I didn't really even learn much. I was just trying to get on the field and play.
Yeah.
It's funny that you said that.
Yeah. Piggybacking off of that, I would say having those people in your life, even if it's a parent or an advisor, or even like a brother or a friend or whatever, you got to hear those good things. You got to hear like what you can do, what you can be from other people's perspective. Mm-hmm. But on the other side, some people don't even know what they want to do. You know what I mean? Like I'm an econ. I love my job, but do I really love my job? Am I so happy to wake up every day and go to my job? Or it's like, oh, I'm excited. It pays the bills, but it ain't like playing football. So maybe I would guess certain people don't know what they want to do. There's probably people who are doctors who went through schooling, who went through residency,
Mm-hmm.
and even get a job being a doctor, and they just spent 200K on loans. So now what do? So I would just say, everyone is different. Find what you love or what you think you love, and when you go to college, try it out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's a challenge, I think the simple thing to say is don't be lazy. Now, if you're going hard and you don't like it, yeah, of course, change what you're doing or change your major. But those talks are good to understand what you think you want to do.
Right.
And if you know you're going to do it, of course, stick with it. Bust your ass. Keep working hard. But if you don't want to do it, like, I wouldn't say get discouraged. There's people who's 40 years old, 50 years old, like, who don't have a job and they're
Mhm.
able to get money. They're able to become millionaires. I mean, time ain't going to wait for anyone, but hearing that is definitely a good thing. And having those people around you telling you that is a great thing.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think I mean, just having, just even friends to talk to and really just looking yourself in the mirror and saying like, man, what do I like? Maybe I'm not going to play baseball or football or basketball forever. Like, well, maybe what's next? Because we all think we're going to play forever. Some people are blessed to play careers until they're, 43 like Tom Brady, but, most of the bunch, NFL not for long. So,
And what happens after those 3 to 5 years if you don't have an education? You might have made a meal or two, but that ain't gonna last you until you 80.
No, not at all. I wish it would, but it usually
Unless
doesn't.
you're nuts with your money, you know what I mean?
I
Gotta do
know.
some smart investments, but some
Uh,
ain't thinking like that.
yeah, talk a little bit about, the importance, our next question for you is really talk about the importance of your grades in high school in preparing. But you sort of had a weird kind of recruiting process. And like you said, like, I mean, you were a stud in high school and you're at an elite prep school, and you were a stud on the football field, and then here you end up walking on at Rutgers. So talk a little bit about the recruiting process, because a lot of kids want to hear about this. Like, it's stressful and you don't know where you're going to go all the time. So talk a little bit about the importance of the grades on the recruiting process. I mean, I remember we were going, me and you were both talking to the Penn football coach, and last minute he's like, Darnell and Jack, like, you guys should go take the ACT and like see if you can get a good grade. I'm like, okay. And it was like senior year, and like all of a sudden I'm supposed to prep for an ACT to get into like a certain band so I can get accepted. Like, it's just sort of unrealistic. So talk a little bit about the recruiting process, the importance of grades, and just sort of your story with it all.
All right, we'll start with grades. I think grades are very important, but everyone hears that from their parents or their family. I think grades help you get the foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And having that foot in the door is key because you can be a decent player. You could be a decent player on the field, and there's great players way better than you. But if you have the grades and you have that foot in the door, you'll have the opportunity over those kids. Think about how many great players we've known. Like the kid from Hotchkiss. The kid could have went to the league in the NFL after high school. He would have been like LeBron in the league. Like, there's kids like that who'll go to JUCO. You know what I mean? Guys like Cam Newton because they don't have the grades. And yes, the athleticism and your gameplay does help you, but grades are so important, man. I mean, not even just for athletics, just for lifestyle, being able to communicate, articulate with someone, being able to speak to someone, be able to do simple math. Like, I know that's like middle school stuff, but you go to high school, just having those grades and gaining your knowledge is going to help you in the long run. But I know how life is. Life is hard sometimes. I mean, you're going to struggle with school, but if you're doing your best and you have decent grades, and when I say decent, I mean C's. I had B's. I was finessing. I was nice. I was smart. I had B's. I could have had A's, but I guess I was a procrastinator. I wasn't someone who took academics as serious as athletics.
Mm-hmm.
I cared, but I didn't care. You know, I didn't give all in school. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't studying 3-4 days before the exams. I was studying the night before, and I was doing well, but I wasn't retaining the information. If you're retaining that information, you'll just get smarter through life. It just builds up. But
And we'll talk real quick. Talk a little bit about that. Like, maybe if you did have put in that time, like maybe it could have opened up some more doors for you. Like, because I know you were getting recruited heavily to go to Georgetown for football, and then, but maybe if you looking back on it, someone came up to you sophomore year and said, Darnell, like, in 2 years from now, Georgetown's going to be all over you. And if you have a 3.9, like, they're going to be crazy for you, instead of maybe you had a 3.3 and they're like, yeah, like, we want Darnell. But talk a little bit about, like, if you had put in maybe that time, it could have affected your recruiting a little bit differently.
I would say put in as much time with your schoolwork as you do with sports. And I'm not even just talking about practice. I'm talking about as much time you watching ESPN, as much time as you just going out with your boys. Put that time in the schoolwork as well. If you're really good, you can balance both at the same time. You don't really have to sacrifice one for the other. But I would say having those grades is going to open those doors for you. It's going to give you those opportunities, and you don't know what those opportunities are. And you were telling me to tell my story. Like I had B's. I had like a 3.2 in high school, and for me, like I used to talk crap. Like, I got a 3.2. That's so great. It was terrible. I could have had a 4.0 if I really busted my butt like I did it with athletics. I really could have. Like, you and me both could have if we really put the time in. We studied. We went to the library. I wasn't about that life. And I'm not telling people to be about that. I'm just telling you to put more effort in, because those grades are going to matter a lot more than your athletics. There's a lot of great athletes out there. There's probably so many athletes. There's probably athletes out there that should be in the pros, but they didn't have the grades. They were just ballers. But if you have the grades, let me say it again, it's going to open the doors. And back to me, I tore my ACL my senior year. All my scholarships dropped, and there weren't any big schools. They were all like D1 AA, like Georgetown, Penn, Lehigh, Lafayette, and South Carolina was looking at me, but it was like a walk-on spot. Tore my ACL, didn't get accepted to any of those schools. They're like, all right, this kid's done. I couldn't play basketball, baseball, high school career shot. Go down to Pensacola, Florida for rehab, and I meet Marcus Lattimore, running back for South Carolina. He played, when was that? 2011, 12? He was around there. Marcus was nuts. And he seen me getting back healthy, and he seen me training. And this is what I was talking about with opportunities. You never know when opportunities are going to come your way. I had no idea what college I was going to. And honestly, I didn't care. I just knew I had to get healthy. I had the grades. I just had to get back. But I had the grades. That's the key. If I didn't have the grades, I guarantee you I wouldn't have been at Rutgers. I probably would have had to go to a county college, and who knows where my life would have led. But to my story, Marcus Lattimore calls Spurrier on the phone. Spurrier literally, he gives the phone to me. He's like, hey, Marcus was talking about you. He likes you. You sent over your highlight. Your grades are great. Come over. Come take a visit. Like, right like that. So I come from a story with no scholarships, no nothing, no walk-on spots, no, not anything. I go to Pensacola just to a rehabilitation center. That's it. Get blessed. I believe in God, but I'm not going to go deep. Get blessed. See Marcus Lattimore. And Jack knows Marcus was one of my favorite players in high school. He was nuts. Him and Burfict. But Marcus got me the walk-on spot. And as soon as I got that spot, 4 or 5 schools offered me. 4 or 5 schools. And they were just like, your grades are good enough, you can come. And that was simple as that. So for kids, to put it in perspective, your grades they have to be up there. I mean, how are you going to stand out? Unless you're number one player in the country, you still got to get into school. You still want to be able to speak to people, communicate with people, and don't sound like an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
absolutely. It's such a cool story you got too. I love the walk-on stories, and then guys that earn the scholarship. Tell me a little bit before we end this up here about that process of like coming in as a walk-on and then like earning that scholarship. And honestly, I know coaches think about this too. Like, you're not going to get a walk-on spot if you don't have the grades too. Like, first of all too, like, because they don't want you bringing down the team's GPA. Like, that's the truth. Like, you need to have the grades to get that spot. So that's what you had to do with those high school grades. But what was it like when you got that scholarship, that feeling like, and working to that? How was that?
So I was very, very excited, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I got a walk on. Like, I knew I deserved it. I literally put in the work while I was injured. I knew I deserved it. I played with players who were at higher levels than Rutgers, you know, like I knew what it was like to play on the field. So when I got it, I was like, all right, but I played with a chip on my shoulder. And I didn't play with it because I thought I was better than this kid. I was better than that kid. I played with a chip on my shoulder because I was paying tuition for for a whole year. So I'm like,
it was a struggle, boy.
It was a struggle. And my old man and my mom, they couldn't really take care of it. So I had to take out some loans. and I balled. I mean, seniors. My redshirt freshman year, it's probably the hardest I ever worked in my life. I had to be resilient. I had to be disciplined. They didn't give me any chances. They didn't call me up for the line drills. Like I literally walked up and like took people's spots. I had to eat. I had to have my grades high. I couldn't get in trouble. And
Yep.
trouble for football is being late to book checking. So they kind of hold your hands to see what you're doing for the day. And if you're like a minute or two late because you were late or you were lifting in the workouts, you got to run in the morning. And they consider that, trouble. You know what it is.
Mhm.
But anyway, I didn't get in trouble. I kept my head down. I was cracking skulls on the field. I was doing everything I could. I was even playing receiver for the scout team. I did everything. Finally got my freshman year.
You can't catch though. You can't catch though.
My hands are nuts. My hands are nuts. Like a mix between Moss and Gonzalez. I'm like that. But got my spot. Oh, sorry. So my coach offered me a scholarship the following year. As soon as I got the scholarship, it was no letting up. It was no parading for me. I got to go and eat still because you never know. Anyway, I got on special teams, killed it on special teams. Got like Big Ten All-American for kickoff, and I was killing it. So I was good. I was sitting, chilling pretty. Following year, sophomore year, worked my way up, started starting. Junior year, got a new coach in, and he took my scholarship away. So I got a new weenie from the Midwest, comes and takes my scholarship away. And I'm looking like, I put all this hard work in, and you're gonna do that? For real? So, got to keep that mentality. What I say before, a lion is king because of his mentality.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Didn't give up, even though my dad wanted me to go to Penn State. My old man had a connection at Penn State. They wanted me, but I was just like, I spent too many years here. Like, I've been eating here. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't gonna let this guy do that. Anyway, that year, I ended up starting, even though I was a walk-on. I was considered a walk-on junior year. I ended up starting, ended up killing it. Senior year, got captain, finally gave me my scholarship back. By that time, I was pissed. I wasn't speaking to him, but I wasn't like disrespectful. I kept my head down and just kept it moving. Got my scholarship back, ate up my senior year, and that was the story.
I mean, dude, that's absolutely crazy too.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, absurd. You're like on Joey Colton level as far as stories. Jesus. But it's crazy though, because I think as we've talked, Ethan, in latter episodes with people, college athletes, it's like in high school, you're just like, all you're thinking about is like, I just got to get there. And like people even now, like we talk to student athletes, on Zoom calls and things, they're like, well, I just got to get to college. I'm like, dude, once you get there, that's when you start working. Like you think like it's easy now. Like once you get in the doors, that's when it's like, okay, it's go time. But in high school, all you're thinking about is like, man, I just got to get there. And once I'm there, I'll get my scholarship and I'll just sort of hang out. It's like, that's when the work starts. And like, even talking like your story, that's crazy. Like you're like set. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, now I'm back at ground zero, I guess. Like, I just been grinding here for 3 years and you just come in and do that. And it's like, it happens more often than not. Like you're not the only guy and I'm not the only guy who just like have had things like it happens all the time. And like, people just don't like see it. Like you don't like hear stories. So that's why I think it's cool that we're doing this. Cause when you get to hear like Darnell Davis's story about, being a walk-on, grinding, special teams All-American, getting a scholarship pulled for no reason, just a new coach coming in. Then you come out and you're a senior captain in football. There's 120 guys on the team and they pick 4 captains. I mean, that's absurd, to have that honor, being a captain, stuff like that.
Appreciate that, bro.
It's awesome. We got to hype you up a little bit more. Yeah. And then the ACL injury too, like going into and having the no offers. I just love your story. And Jack being a walk-on guy too, and then earning the scholarship, like love those stories.
I appreciate that.
Amazing stuff. And honestly, being able to, what I really think a lot of people can take from this podcast too is you like sticking with like taking that economics major when none of your teammates did and sticking with it and being able to thrive because of you really getting out of your comfort zone and doing that is something that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people after this. Last question here. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your younger self?
If you're like, yo, Darnell in the refractory freshman year, well, what would you tell yourself?
I would just tell myself like, yo, just keep being you, keep doing your thing. Like, you're gonna make these mistakes, the mistakes I already know about, some terrible mistakes, but you need to make those mistakes for you to become the man you want to be. I'm not gonna tell him to change anything different. If I was an a-hole, I ain't gonna tell him to stop being an a-hole. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna be like, yo, just do your thing, and life is gonna play out how it's gonna play out. I think it was already planned, so just those mistakes have to happen. They have to happen. If you don't make those mistakes, especially life, which is your greatest teacher, you ain't gonna become the man you want to be. Easy as that. So,
Awesome
I,
answer.
no,
Real quick, I got to know too. Craziest place you played in college, like
uh,
craziest atmosphere
The
with
big
fans.
yeah,
It's got to
house.
be the big house, right?
nah.
It's not the big
Y'all,
house.
y'all be surprised. The craziest place I played was Nebraska. Loudest, craziest.
Yes.
The fans are dope. They're dope. Like when you walk in, they're not talking cash money. Like they're real nice to you on some weird stuff. You're like, yo, why you being so nice? But I guess that's their plan. That's their tactic. And
Yeah.
so loud, bro, so loud. And
Hey,
before that, like
that's
during the
funny
game,
you said that. Like the fans were like too nice to you.
like too nice. But you know, they're just being a-holes. They're not really being nice. They're just being
Yeah.
they're like, good game, man. Like you're gonna do great today, but it's like sarcasm, so
Yeah.
it's funny. But
That Midwest
Nebraska's
storm.
atmosphere was crazy, and all the fans stand up until they score a touchdown. So they're standing the whole time the beginning of the game. And as soon as they score a touchdown, they all release balloons and then they finally sit. But loudest packed house I've been in. And Penn State is a close second. They get
Yeah.
loud. They get loud. Happy Valley gets loud.
And the whiteouts, dude. If you played there at night, I don't know
Yeah,
if you've
it's
been, but
nuts there. Penn
dude,
State's dope. Yeah,
And
Penn
that's like
State's
what 100. If it's 100K, right?
I
The
would
big
say
house.
110, but I'm not
Oh
100%.
my
Maybe
God. Yeah, it
Michigan's
is. It's
110.
over
Maybe I'm
100K.
tripping. Maybe Michigan's 110. But it's a
Maybe
lot of heads there.
it's around 100K. It's just absurd.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And it's a great
Hey.
experience, bro. It's just like it's tunnel vision. It's tunnel vision. You block all that out, you know?
Yeah.
I
Hey.
mean, just crazy. But it's just so cool to hear your story. And then all of a sudden, you're a guy who's towards ACLs, got no offers. To all of a sudden, you're playing in the big house. You're playing at Penn State, just like stuff that you just dream about, And it was really cool how you said about, the greatest piece of advice to yourself is just like you're gonna make mistakes, and like it's about how you respond to them and grow for them, because you can't really grow unless you make mistakes. I mean, it's easy just to go through life not making mistakes, or not making mistakes, but just sort of just having mistakes happen, and then you just sort of don't really learn from them. So I thought that was really cool.
Appreciate that, bro.
Yes, Darnell, appreciate you coming on, man. You're
you.
welcome on the Pickle Pod anytime. We'll
What's up?
take you. We can trio host it, whatever. We can figure it out. But appreciate you coming on, telling your story, and we'll be hanging out soon. It's been too long.
For real. Thank you for your time, bros.
Thanks for tuning in to The Pickle, who is brought to you by AC4SA, academic coaching for student athletes, whose goal is to use the power of sport to unleash the athlete's potential in the academic arena.